Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. You know those no-spend challenges everybody's talking about?
Yeah.
They're all over TikTok, especially with millennials and Gen Z.
Yeah.
But I think, it's a little more than a trend. I mean, you're here, so you're probably already thinking about it as a way to get control of your finances.
Sure. It's interesting how it's become this cultural phenomenon, right? Like it really touches on something deeper
Yeah.
about our relationship with money.
Yeah.
It's not just like, oh, I'm going to save a couple bucks. It's more about why do I spend the way I do? You know?
Totally. So just to back up for a second, what exactly is a no-spend challenge?
Okay, so basically it's like you commit to only spending money on absolute necessities for a set period of time. So we're talking like food,
Yeah.
housing, utilities, transportation.
All right.
But that daily latte,
Yeah.
forget about it. That pack of gum at the checkout,
Oh, yeah.
nope. It's all about stripping your spending down to the bare minimum.
Like a financial detox almost. But why is everyone so obsessed with this? I mean, okay, it helps you save money, but is there more to it?
Oh, absolutely. So much more. Think of your finances like a river, right? Money flows in from your income, but then you have all these expenses that are constantly flowing out. The no-spend challenge is like you're building a dam to stop that flow so you can really examine where your money's going. You might be surprised by the leaks you find.
That's such a good visual. I love that. So it's not just blindly cutting expenses, but becoming aware of that financial flow, as you said.
Exactly. It shines a spotlight on those autopilot spending habits we all have. Like, you know how you're scrolling online?
Oh, my God.
And then suddenly, boom, you bought another pair of shoes.
Happens to me all the time. And then I'm like, where did my money go?
Right, exactly. So this challenge forces you to hit the pause button on that autopilot and actually ask yourself, do I really need this? We actually had a client at Charles Schwab who was an engineer.
Really?
Yeah.
An engineer?
Yeah, she was making a great income, but still struggling with overspending.
I would think an engineer would be good with numbers.
You think so, right?
Yeah.
But she was single, had a super generous heart, and loved supporting her softball team. Travel, hotels, all that. It was all coming out of her pocket.
See, that's a good reminder that even if you have a good income, if you're not paying attention,
right,
those little things can really add up.
Exactly. So did she have to completely stop supporting her team?
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Okay.
That's where the challenge helped her find a balance. It's not about permanent deprivation. It's about consciously aligning your spending with your priorities.
I see.
So maybe for her, that meant cutting back on other things so she could still support the team without going into debt.
So it's not really no spending. It's more like intentional spending.
Exactly. And that's when things get interesting. Because once you start tracking every dollar and really being intentional, you start to see that bigger picture.
Okay, so let's say I'm ready to take on this no-spend challenge. Where do I even begin?
First things first, you got to track your spending religiously.
Okay.
Every single dollar. I know it sounds tedious,
Yeah.
but think of it like taking inventory of your financial life.
So that's where the damming up the river thing comes in.
Right. You start to see where those leaks are, and then you can decide, okay, which ones do I actually need to plug?
So if I realize I'm spending way too much on takeout coffee, that's my cue to cut back.
Exactly. And then you connect that to your priorities. So let's say your goal is to save $5,000 for a down payment on a house.
Okay.
You're spending $5 a day on that latte. That's $150 a month.
Wow.
That's a big chunk of your savings right there.
It puts it into perspective for sure. It's not just about depriving yourself.
Yeah.
It's about making choices that support your bigger goals.
And you might even discover some hidden talents along the way.
Yeah.
Our engineer, she found out she was a pretty amazing cook.
Oh, wow.
Once she started eating at home more.
So maybe this challenge could lead to some unexpected self-discovery.
Definitely.
Okay, I'm actually kind of getting excited about this.
I knew you would. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Okay.
It's important to be real. It can be tough.
Right. Breaking those habits can't be easy. What are some of the challenges that people face?
Well, social pressure is a big one.
Yeah.
Imagine trying to explain to your friends why you're not going out to dinner or drinks anymore.
Oh, yeah. That's true. I hadn't even considered that.
It can feel isolating. So how do you deal with that kind of pressure?
Yeah.
It's a great question, and we'll definitely dig deeper into that later on. But for now, just know that the key is to be prepared. Have your reasons ready.
Okay.
And don't be afraid to get creative with your social activities.
So instead of meeting for drinks, maybe invite friends over for a potluck dinner?
Exactly.
Or a game night.
You got it.
Yeah.
You can still have fun and be social without breaking the bank.
Okay. Now I'm even more intrigued.
I told you. This is turning into quite the deep dive.
It is. And we're just getting started. But before we move on, I'm curious, what are some of your initial thoughts? What stands out to you so far? You know, it's funny you say that because I am realizing how this is so much more than just saving money.
It really is.
It's like a psychological challenge.
It is.
You know,
yeah.
Forcing you to think about your habits.
Your habits and why you spend.
And why.
Yeah.
What are those reasons?
Exactly. Like often we spend money for emotional reasons, right? Stress, boredom, that need for instant gratification. So the no spend challenge forces you to be like, wait, what am I actually trying to fill here with this purchase?
That's so true. I know I've been guilty of retail therapy for sure in the past.
Yeah.
But what if like your spending isn't driven by emotions? What if it's like you have real needs? What about those like unexpected expenses that come up?
Right.
Like how do you factor that into a no spend challenge?
Well, that's where the flexibility comes in. You know, the goal isn't to be like rigid or create this like unnecessary stress. So if a true emergency comes up, like a car repair or medical bill, you adjust accordingly. And ideally, you know, you have an emergency fund to cover those situations.
That makes sense. So it's not about punishing yourself. It's about finding that balance that works in real life.
Exactly. And remember, our engineer, she had to make some adjustments when her car unexpectedly broke down, but instead of putting it on a credit card, she was able to tap into that emergency fund.
I see.
So again, it was like, okay, being mindful, not depriving myself.
Got it. Got it. Okay, so you're in this challenge, you're trying to do this thing, but how do you stay motivated? Like when you're seeing all the sales and social media is telling you to buy, buy, buy.
Right. Well, first of all, remember your why. Like, why are you doing this challenge in the first place? Is it to save for a down payment? Pay off debt? Just gain control over your finances? Keeping that goal front and center can really help you stay strong.
So connecting it back to your values and goals.
Yeah.
Not just saying no to everything, but saying yes to the things that really matter.
Exactly. And visualization can be really powerful, too. Like, imagine yourself actually achieving that goal. Stepping into your new home, finally being debt-free. Feeling that weight lifted off your shoulders.
Yeah, that would be motivating for sure.
Yeah.
But what about those social situations?
Yeah.
Like we talked about the pressure to spend when you're out with friends.
Yeah.
Any tips on navigating that?
You know, honesty is key.
Okay.
Let your friends know, hey, I'm doing this no spend challenge.
Yeah.
Explain why it's important to you.
Yeah.
You might be surprised by their support.
Okay.
And remember, there's so many ways to be social without spending money.
Like the potluck dinner.
Exactly. Game night.
Game night hike in the park. Get creative.
So it's shifting the focus to experiences rather than just like material things.
Think about the stories you'll have to tell.
That's true.
You might even inspire your friends to try the challenge themselves.
Oh, that'd be cool. A little ripple effect.
A ripple effect, yeah. Speaking of change, how do you make the habits you develop during this challenge last?
Right.
Because it's got to be easy to slip back into those old patterns once it's over.
It can be. Which is why it's so important to view the no spend challenge as a jumpstart, not a quick fix.
Okay.
It's about building that awareness and that foundation for long-term healthy financial habits.
Like training for a marathon. The challenge is that intense training period, but the real test is maintaining those good habits after you've crossed the finish line.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And just like training for a marathon, it requires that discipline. Consistency support.
So what are some ways to make sure those habits stick?
Well, one thing that really helped our engineer was setting up a system for tracking her spending, even after the challenge was over.
So you're not doing the no spend challenge actively, but you're still keeping track.
Exactly. She started using a budgeting app that helped her stay on top of her finances without feeling overwhelmed.
So it's like brushing your teeth, you know? You got to keep doing it to keep things clean and healthy.
It's a habit.
Yeah. So how did this all play out for our engineer? Did she manage to keep up those good habits?
She did.
And reach her goals?
She did. Remember how she wanted to increase her contributions to her 401k to get that employer match?
Oh, yeah. That was a big one for her.
Well, by cutting back on unnecessary expenses and sticking to her budget, even after the challenge was over, she was able to bump up her contributions significantly.
Nice.
She even managed to start saving for a down payment on a condo.
Wow. That's amazing.
It is. And, you know, she often says that the best part wasn't just achieving those financial milestones, but the sense of empowerment it gave her.
Oh, wow.
She realized she had more control over her money and her life than she ever thought possible.
That is so inspiring. It shows that, even if you struggled with overspending before, you can totally turn things around.
Absolutely.
And take control.
Yes. And remember, everyone's journey is different. There's no one-size-fits-all approach.
Right.
The key is to find what works for you and celebrate your progress along the way.
Speaking of celebrating,
yeah.
Did our engineer ever go back to supporting her softball team?
She did. But this time, she did it with a budget in mind.
Good for her.
She found creative ways to support the team without overspending.
Yeah.
Like organizing fundraisers and carpooling to tournaments.
That's awesome. So she was still able to enjoy that part of her life.
Exactly.
But in a way that was financially responsible.
It's about finding that balance.
Yeah. This whole conversation has been so eye-opening. It started with, this simple no-spend challenge. And now we're talking about empowerment.
I know, right?
Achieving our dreams and creating this ripple effect of positive change.
It's amazing how these personal finance strategies connect to those bigger ideas, right?
Totally.
It highlights how interconnected our choices really are.
Yeah.
The way we spend our money has ripple effects that go way beyond just us.
It's like that butterfly effect.
Exactly.
One small action can have this huge impact down the line.
And in this case, the action is choosing to consciously opt out of that consumerist cycle, even for a short period of time.
Right.
It sends a message to ourselves, to businesses, to the world around us that, hey, there's more to life than just buying stuff.
And I think that's a message a lot of people are ready to hear.
Yeah.
We're seeing this growing awareness of the impact of overconsumption. And I think people are looking for more meaningful ways to spend their time and money.
It's a hopeful sign for sure. It suggests that we're starting to recognize the limits of material possessions and seeking fulfillment in experiences, relationships, personal growth.
So what does this all mean for our listeners?
Yeah.
What can they take away from this No Spend Challenge deep dive?
I think the key takeaway is that it's not just about saving money. It's about aligning your spending with your values, whether those values are financial freedom, environmental sustainability, or simply living a more intentional life.
It's about taking control instead of letting your finances control you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And recognizing that power of individual choices to create positive change both in your own life and the world around you.
This has been such an inspiring conversation. I am feeling energized, ready to take on this challenge. But before we go, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
Please do.
What if we all, committed to a no-spend day? Or even a no-spend weekend, once a month?
Yeah.
Can you imagine the impact that could have? On our wallets?
Oh, yeah.
On the environment?
For sure.
On our well-being?
That's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
It's simple. It's achievable. Anybody can do that.
Exactly.
And as we've been saying, it's not even just about the money.
Yeah.
It's about that mindset shift, realizing that real fulfillment comes from experiences and connection.
It's like hitting the reset button on our habit.
Give ourselves a chance to just breathe, reevaluate.
And who knows, maybe that could even spark a bigger conversation.
Oh, for sure.
About conscious consumerism.
It could. Definitely.
Inspire others to be more mindful.
Yeah.
So to our listeners, we challenge you to join us.
Yes.
Let's break free from that consumerist cycle.
Let's do it.
Even if it's just for a day or two.
Even for a day.
And see what kind of change we can create together.
I'm in. Are you in?
I am so in. This whole deep dive has been a game changer for me. I'm walking away with a whole new perspective.
That's awesome.
On my own spending.
I love to hear that.
And a renewed sense of I can do this.
That's what it's all about. Taking control and designing a life that truly aligns with your values.
This has been such an incredible conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and expertise with us.
It was my pleasure.
Yeah.
And remember, the No Spend Challenge is just one tool in your financial toolbox, but it's a powerful one. It can really unlock a world of possibilities.
To our listeners, we encourage you to explore this further.
Yeah.
Experiment. Find what works for you.
Absolutely.
And don't be afraid to challenge yourself.
And remember, every step you take towards mindful spending is a step towards a more fulfilling and sustainable future.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into No Spend Challenges. We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration.
Until then, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep diving deep.